Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out with our old friend, MC extraordinaire, David Diamante. David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Danny. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. We're here at the City Ground, famous home of Nottingham Forest, former European and League champions, of course. Is that kind of an exciting thing for you? I know you follow soccer, as you guys call it, quite closely.
I actually don't follow it that closely now, especially, I'm following boxing so much. That's kind of my main passion. But it is a great thing. Nottingham has such a great sporting history. It goes back, and some of the oldest football clubs in the world are from this town. And this City Ground, actually, they started playing here in the 1890s. So there's a lot of tradition here, and they're a great championship side. So it's great to be here. Absolutely, Forest, the tricky trees as they call them, the Reds. It's a great sporting town. So and of course, Carl Froch and Leigh Wood are both big supporters of Forest. So it is great to be here.
Talking about Carl Froch, obviously boxing scene in the city had kind of quietened down a bit since Froch graduated to the stadiums, Wembley for example, and then subsequently retired. Is this the kind of start of something special, do you feel, that bringing it back to Nottingham?
Well, I do. First of all, a guy like Leigh Wood, who's fighting on the co-feature of this card, he's trying to follow in the footsteps of a guy like Carl. And if you remember, we all probably do, in 2012, that incredible IBF championship fight that happened right here where we're going to be having the fight on Friday. It was at the Motor Point Arena here in Nottingham. And it wasn't called that back then, but it's the same arena. Fifth round TKO of Lucien Boutet for the IBF Super Middleweight Championship of the World, and just an incredible fight. And Carl was the underdog in that fight, and he really dominated, and he stopped Boutet, and it was a great fight. Eddie jumped in the ring early. Earl Brown, the referee's a good friend of mine, he was administering the count, and I guess Eddie thought he had called it, so he jumped in, but then he ended up calling it, and it was a great moment. Even I've talked to the great Sky Sport pundit Andy Clark, and he was telling me, being at that fight was one of the best fights he's ever been at live. So I do think that this is such a great sporting city that having guys like Froch and Leigh Wood, the guys that are coming up, it inspires other young guys to get into boxing for sure.
The two biggest fights on the bill on Friday evening, we should specify it's not Saturday this week, it's Friday. Yep. Jordan Gill is obviously fighting in the main event against Tinoco, and then you've got Leigh Wood defending his Commonwealth title against Ryan Doyle. Wood and Gill are obviously very close friends and indeed housemates. Do you think there's kind of a competitive rivalry there that should drive them both on now they're on the same show?
I don't think so. I think that I think it's more like a friendly thing. I think they spur each other on. I think it's funny. It's like The Odd Couple. I'm waiting for the sitcom to come out about these guys. They say birds of a feather flock together, but it's like fighters of the featherweight flock. They're both, at the 126-pound limit, and they're both fighting on the card. And then they're actually sharing an opponent because ruthless Ryan Doyle, Gill took the title from him. So that's kind of funny, but I think that they help each other out. I think maybe friendly competition, but I don't think I think they're both in their own, they're both kind of doing their own paths.
I imagine they'll both be looking to steal the show on Friday night, not just from each other, but from everyone else on the bill. Who most excites you on the undercard of this show? Because there's a lot of young prospects on there.
Well, there really are. First of all, it's going to be great to finally see Frankham get into action. It's going to be great to see Dalton Smith get into action. Terry Harper, defending her title. I love Chris Billiam-Smith, so CBS is on the card. That's great. Fabio Wardley, he's this guy. He's managed under Dillian White, and not a big amateur career, but he's kind of cutting his teeth in the pro ranks, and he can hit like a mule, so watching him fight's always great. So all these guys, I love seeing them. So it should be a nice card. It's a great JD Next Gen card, and that's one of the things. It's like people always want that ripe fruit. You want that tomato or that melon, but you got to see the farmer that puts the seeds in and grows it, and these are the small shows that grow for these big stars to come up.
You mentioned Chris Billiam-Smith there. He's obviously lined up to fight Richard Riakporhe on the July 20th pay-per-view show, topped by Dillian White, Oscar Rivas, Dave Allen, David Price as well. So this is going to be a chance for the Sky Sports audience to get a look at Chris Billiam-Smith in advance of that, and he needs to look impressive, I guess.
I think he does, and he's a great guy, and I think once the fans get to know him, they'll really like him. He's a fabulous guy, great work ethic, and hopefully he looks sharp, because that fight against Riakporhe, I'm very much looking forward to that.